People from around the world we know love to flock to South Africa to view our incredible wildlife. We do have such great wildlife, don't we? For many, it's actually a trip of a lifetime. But then we bring in some travel bans and some lockdowns, and it's put paid to many internationals and local tourists' plans. But it's also had a major impact on the country's national park. But we know the Kruger National Park is beginning to welcome visitors back. So let's see how it's managing to keep going with its managing executive, Gareth Coleman. Gareth, it's always such a pleasure to speak to you. So here we've got two issues, don't we? One, bad for tourism, good for conservation, of course. The animals don't care if we come there and ruin their morning. But for business, I can't imagine lockdown was very good for you.
No, it wasn't good at all. Morning, Gareth, and morning to the viewers. So it wasn't a very good period for us at all, particularly last year. We were very hard hit. I mean, we normally, by about this time, we obviously work in financial years between April and September. We would have welcomed about 1 million guests into the park. Last year, particularly during the hard lockdown periods, we only got about 250,000. But it's much better this year, 650,000. Over 50%, so things are certainly looking up.
What does that do operationally for those who've been to the Kruger National Park, even those who've heard of it, can understand the scale of KNP? I imagine there's a lot of money that needs to be brought in just to simply keep it going at a basic level. Operationally, what did that do?
Well, it's hit us hard. It really has hit us hard. I don't think the public understand that we rely as SANParks as a whole, probably for about 85% of our revenue from our visitors. We do get a good government subsidy, but 85% comes from our visitors. So you can do the maths. It's hit us very hard. It impacts on our ability to fill positions. It impacts on our ability to do maintenance. It impacts on our ability to just buy CapEx items. So it impacts on our ability to pay overtime. So it's impacted on staff, it's impacted on staff morale, it's impacted on visitor experience, but we're certainly doing our best. As I say to all the employees, it costs nothing to smile and be polite and keep places clean.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the morale as well that is difficult to keep up as well. But I'm sure that morale, Gareth, would have been boosted. I'm sure there was a loud cheer from inside Skukuza when we heard two things. Level 1 lockdown and the UK red list is a thing of the past. That had to be good news ahead of December.
Of course. I mean, we've been waiting for that. I think the whole industry's been waiting for that, and it was obviously music to our ears. But I think, as we know, with COVID, things change. Every month we cheer, and then we sigh a month later. But we're certainly hoping that that'll translate to more visitors. Internationally, where we benefit as Kruger National Park is that in our conservation fee, our international visitors pay quite a significant amount more for entry to the parks. It's actually about 4 times more. And that's really an important source of revenue for us. And of course, for our concessions in the park. We're not quite sure how it's going to impact in November, December, but it'll certainly be an increase, without a doubt.
What are those plans to get more people into the park? We obviously all know everyone's taken a financial hit, not just as businesses, but also individuals. Now, we have UK and international visitors that can come back, and also the local market coming in. So who do you target for this December? Your neighbours, or are you still trying to go international?
Look, I think we probably, as Kruger National Park, and I say this a little bit guardedly, but because I haven't done the research, but I think we probably, out of all the tourism establishments in the country, done relatively well, to the extent that South Africans have continued to visit. I mean, our bed occupancy dropped right down to under 10% last year, and we're back up to around 50-odd%, whereas normally we're around 70%. So I think South Africans have continued to come to the park, they've continued to support the park, and our camping numbers are actually higher than pre-COVID period. I think it's seen a bit of a shift in the market. But we want South Africans to visit as much as we want internationals to visit. But the international visitors come through our global marketing mechanisms as well as through South African tourism's efforts. But we have, of course, been running quite a lot of specials for our domestic tourists over this lockdown period.
Yeah, just before I let you go as well, I imagine you're going to see quite an uptick in domestic visitors, but I think nothing clears the mind like a lack of travelling options, knowing for 18 months we couldn't really do anything, and now, of course, we could see more people coming to the Kruger because they've never done it before, and now they can travel. It's a one-stop destination for them. Just before I let you go, Gareth, I know we're talking numbers. If I can just ask you to put your conservation hat on for a moment. It has been good for the animals, though, hasn't it? I mean, they've sort of had a bit of a free reign of the Kruger Park. I mean, just your basic thoughts on conservation. Good for the animals, I'm sure, or do you disagree?
Well, yes. I mean, good for the animals. I'm not sure whether they've noticed it, whether they haven't. I mean, animals tend to use basically areas of what kind of least resistance, so the pathways of least resistance. So certainly during hard lockdown at least, we saw many more animals on the roads. But at the end of the day, animals and conservation is part of the economy, and we need to continue to run the parks. In order to be able to run the parks, we need to generate revenue to be able to look after the animals. So, but I'm sure they don't understand that.
No, of course they don't. They're not interested in conservation tourism. They're interested in getting food and finding some shade. Gareth Coleman, thank you very much indeed as well. It would have been great to see a giraffe drinking out the Skukuza pool during lockdown. That must have been quite a view. Managing executive, Gareth Coleman from the Kruger National Park. It's a wonderful destination. As you heard, some specials on the way as well. If you've never been, you really, really must make a plan to get up to the Kruger National Park. I'm glad they're starting to recover.